Hennessy, come out and play.
This is it, Juror. Your big breaking TV.
Yo, what's poppin', Henny? Gang, 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 gang. Bar is open, y'all. I smell a debunking video coming on. Child. Least we not forget, this is Hennessay Reviews.
Of the prime time.
Oh my goodness, you guys, hold on. Let me get myself together. What's poppin', everybody? Welcome back to the bar. It's your favorite doc tender, That Girl Henny, and I'm about to pour up plenty of the hot Henny that y'all love to sip on. So if you are new here, welcome. Please be sure to like, comment, and of course, subscribe. Click that notification bell, select all so that you get notified whenever I do a video. And if you are a returning Mob Down Henny Gang member, yeah. Now let's get into this hot Henny. So today, I have been getting requests from you guys about reading the transcripts because there has been a lot of confusion as to what has been said in the courthouse because, as you know, we are not getting things in real time. One of the biggest issues that have been going on within the courts and all of the documents are that exhibits and things of that nature are not being put out in a timely manner to the mainstream media. And so mainstream media has been fighting with the courts, trying to get them to get things out a bit quicker. Now, what I don't understand is how come it is taking them so long to get some of these exhibits out, especially when it comes down to getting text messages and things of that out to the press earlier so that we can post them up and we can get them out to you guys. The issue is that it's coming out late. Some mainstream media platforms are getting things earlier, but like you saw, we have who was it? Hollywood Unlocked released an audio that was released to us in court during the Cassie testimony. It's just now hitting Hollywood Unlocked and, you know, on site and platforms like that. They're just now getting that information. So to them, they think that it's something new. But to those of us who are actually in the courthouse, that's old information. So this has been a long-standing battle that has been going on since this case started. And because people are in the courtroom writing notes, and as we know from being in school, everybody does not take notes the same. You're getting everyone's interpretation of the transcripts as well as, you know, their notations, their documentation. What's poppin', Nino Black? Now, I'm going to do a recap for Nino Black because I don't know if you caught the replay from last night, but the reason why there was no court is there was a juror who had a bout of vertigo yesterday, and so court was closed early because that juror was not there. They did go and look into the juror's medical history, so we're going to see if this juror is going to be out or if they're going to stay in, because vertigo could be something that would interfere with this person being able to do their duties. So congratulations on hitting 15K subs. Proud of you and your accomplishments. Keep your Tims on them neck. Bringing the truth to light. FYSMD to your haters. Thank you very much, Mr. FYSMD. So I'm putting your comments up on the screen. I am going to also be going vertical live as well as horizontal live. Now, if you are here in this live right now, what's going to be different is that I'm going to put the documentation up on the screen for you guys to see and read right along with me in real time. Thank you very much, Miss Stephanie, for the super chat. Thank you very much. Thank you, Xavier. Thank you so much for the super chat. She said, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you as well. So as y'all can see, my eyes are still kind of puffy. My allergies are completely a wreck. Ugh. I don't do good with the lights, but you guys, I'm with the dust. You guys go ahead and get those likes up, share this live out to anybody that you think, because it's crazy how massive amounts of people were inboxing me and hitting me up, asking me to go live to read the transcripts. And now here I am going live, starting to read the transcripts, but I don't see all of them people here. Anyway, I'm getting ready to start the live over on the other, on the vertical. Is that what it is? Yeah, on the vertical. Put my green screen up so they will be tapping in and tuning in with us as well. So let's get these transcripts up here. I will be doing a video about the things that are going on with the press a little later on, but that's going to be a video. That's not going to be something that I'm going to be discussing in this live, because in this live, ruh-oh raggy, ruh-oh raggy, hold on. Do not tell me that I did the dumb thing. I think I did the dumb thing, y'all. And I think I closed out. I did. I closed out the wrong damn tab. Oh, Henny, it's never a dull moment with me. I swear to you, it's never a dull moment with me. Let me get this damn tab back open, because I had it opened. I had everything highlighted, the key points that I wanted to make. And guess what I did? Closed it. Closed it out without saving it. Sometimes I get mad at myself. You bar jumping, you don't have to bar jump. You can stay right where you're at. All right. So the screen is loading, you guys. As soon as the screen loads, I will share it on this screen. If you are over here, you will just be getting the audio. You will not be getting the full document. So let's get this up on the screen right now for y'all. All right, boom, there y'all see it. There is the transcript. So y'all have it up on the screen over here. Let me get my screen the way I like my screen and get this watermark up on here, because yeah, everybody doesn't have the transcripts, you guys. Just know that. Everybody does not have the transcripts. So y'all are kind of getting an exclusive. All right, did it leave my highlights? It did not leave my highlights, but this is the first day of Cassie taking the stand. Hey, Henny girl, you are becoming my fave person, even though we may have a few differences of opinions in the Diddy case. Listen, differences of opinions are what make us people and human, and I totally welcome healthy debates. And I encourage people to think for themselves. So that's cool. Now, let me check on you guys over here on this horizontal live. Good morning to everybody that is over here. I did put y'all comments up on the screen. Now, let's get into this court doc. So now, as y'all know, this was taken the second day of trial. Okay, this is when this happened. And Cassie is taking the stand, and she's being questioned by AUSA Johnson. Okay, so she gets called to the stand. They do the normal formalities of good mornings. They ask Cassie how old she is. She says she is 38 years old. Okay, I did not know that Cassie was 38 years old. I don't know how old I thought Cassie was, but I didn't know she was 38, you guys. That's okay. I guess we could do that. And then I'm looking crazy holding this dog on a pillow. Okay. Because I'm nervous. I'm very nervous. I don't know why, but you guys still make me nervous. I'm just letting y'all know that I still get very nervous when I'm on live. Anyway, so she says, thank you. Her occupation is a musician and an entertainer. Okay. So Miss Johnson goes on to say, Miss Ventura, who has been depicted in Government Exhibit 2A-101. Cassie, Sean Combs. AUSA Johnson. How do you know Sean Combs? Cassie, we were in a relationship for over 11 years. Johnson, if I refer to Sean Combs as Sean today, will you know what I'm talking about? Cassie, yes. Johnson, do you know where in a relationship with Sean? Wait, you said you were in a relationship. Ooh, where did that come from, right? You said you were in a relationship with Sean for a little over a decade. During that period, were you together consistently, or were there breaks during the relationship? Cassie, there were breaks. Johnson, during that same time, were there times where you got along with Sean? Cassie, yes. Johnson, were there times where you did not? Cassie, yes. Johnson, were there times when you had arguments with Sean? Cassie, yes. Johnson, without getting into the subject matter of those arguments, can you describe what arguments with Sean was like? Cassie, if they were violent arguments, it would usually result in some sort of physical abuse and dragging, just different things of that nature. Johnson, when you say physical abuse, can you tell me what type of things that Sean did that hurt you physically? Cassie, I mean, he would mush me in my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head if I was down. Johnson, how frequently was Sean physical with you during your relationship? Cassie, too frequently. Johnson, were you ever injured as a result of these incidents? Cassie, yes. Johnson, what kind of injuries did you have as a result of Sean being physical with you? Cassie, usually pretty similar. I would get knots in my forehead, busted lips, swollen lips, black eyes. The whites of my eyes would be red, bruises all over my body, just depending. Miss Johnson, okay, Miss Gavin, can you please pull and publish for the court Government Exhibit 10C-103 at 33 seconds? Johnson, Miss Ventura, directing your attention to the screen in front of you, do you recognize who's depicted in that still image? Cassie, yes, that's me and Sean. Johnson, do you recognize the location recorded in this still image? Cassie, yes, that's the Intercontinental Century City. Johnson, where were you and Sean? What were you and Sean doing at the Intercontinental Century City at the time of this image was captured? Cassie, we were having an encounter that we call a freak off, and I was leaving there. Johnson, we're going to get back to that specific incident later on. You just mentioned the word freak off. Do you recall that? Cassie, yes. Johnson, who introduced you to the term freak offs? Cassie, Sean did. Johnson, and how did you learn what a freak off was? Cassie, within the first year of our relationship, Sean proposed to me this idea of an actual encounter that he called voyeurism, where he would watch me have intercourse and actual activity with a third party, specifically another man. Johnson, and how did it come? How did the term freak off come about? Cassie, I honestly don't remember exactly how it came about. Johnson, can you describe for the jury when you say the term freak off, what that entails? Cassie, it basically entails the hiring of an escort and setting up this experience so that I could perform for Sean. Johnson, what did the performance involve at a high level? Cassie, the performance involved, I'm sorry, it just involved watching. Sean being able to watch me with other people and actually direct us on what we were doing actually. Johnson, and when you say the other person, who are you referring to? Cassie, the third party, the escort or dancer that would be hired. Now let's pause for a second. Let's pause for a second. I'm going to put my Wi-Fi on. You're saying I'm freezing up badly. Then I'm going to pause. I'm going to put my Wi-Fi on, and I may not see y'all comments anymore over here in this vertical live, just so y'all know. Now, let's pause for a second. And let me go ahead and let me mark this right here so that I know that that's where we were. So now, within this first few minutes, excuse me, is it better over here uniquely? I don't even know if I can see your comment. Because they're saying I'm freezing up bad. Am I freezing up bad over here on this live with y'all? Y'all let me know. I'm good over there. Okay, let me check in on the vertical live because they're saying that they're having issue over there. It's better now, Jade? Okay, thank you very much. All right, so within this first few minutes of me reading this transcript, we have already heard who introduced her to freak offs. We have already heard that she has been through physical abuse, right? Escorts are prostitutes, Angela. Escorts are prostitutes. They are prostitutes. Those are people who are paid to have actual encounters with people. Escorts are just a sophisticated word for it, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And when you, yes, she did. She said escort. She said escort. Okay, so for Angela, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. They were paid for commercial X. Commercial X. Anytime that you are paid for an actual experience, that is commercial X, that is prostitution. We're not going to debate about words, Angela. We have different views on this, but we're not going to debate about words. That's what we're not going to do because it's the same thing. You're paying somebody to come and have an actual experience with you. That's illegal. It's illegal. Let me tell y'all, doing this case, you're going to learn a lot of things that people have been doing that we think are normal are actually not normal, okay, in the eyes of the law. You flew out somebody and you paid them for an actual experience, you have engaged in prostitution. It's that simple. The law is black and white. You can't bend it and manipulate it to make it fit what you want it to fit. These people were paid, or else we would not be here. We cannot mention, it is mentioned. Prostitute. I'm not going to argue with you, Angela, because that's what you want to do. Prostitution is illegal. Even if you're an escort, it's illegal. It's illegal. You think the government is just making up all of these charges and they're going to put on a case just because? Come on now. All right, so Johnson, who was in charge of all the aspects of the freak offs you mentioned, the hiring, the setup, etc.? Cassie. Eventually, it became a job for me, pretty much to where I knew if it was something that he wanted to do, I had the contacts to set it up and get hotel rooms and all of that. But in the beginning, Sean set it up. He was in charge. Now, let me tell y'all what we saw in those government exhibits that both of those last two agents, Agent Sankor and Agent Penland, showed us, especially Agent Penland, showed us where Diddy and Cassie would be having a conversation. Diddy would say, you get the entertainment, I'll get the hotel. So you began to see where he was still maneuvering things around. So he was still a part of the planning of everything and putting that into motion, that aspect of it into motion. You do see where she had begun to make these arrangements, as she has admitted. Now, this is the part that I was telling everybody. There was admissions of things, and this is why she got immunity. Because if she did not get immunity, she would be a co-conspirator to the transportation to engage in prostitution. That's what it is. Okay. So moving right along. Johnson, and after it became your job, how did you know what to do? Cassie, he would tell me, which again, we saw evidence of that. And I'm going to be looking for those transcripts to get those transcripts so I can show y'all better than I can tell y'all what we were shown in court. All right. So now Johnson asked her, when Sean first proposed freak offs, what was your reaction? Cassie, oh, I just remember like my stomach falling to my butt, like just the nervousness and the confusion in the moment. I think I was like 22 at the time. I had just turned 22. I don't I didn't have a concept of how that would be a turn on. But I also felt a sense of responsibility with him sharing something like that with me. So yeah, I was confused, nervous, but also loved him very much and wanted to make him happy. So yeah. The part in that sentence I felt a sense of responsibility with him sharing like that with me. She felt a sense of responsibility because she loved him. All right. Johnson, did you agree to try a freak off with Sean when Sean first proposed it? Cassie, I did. Johnson, after that, were there more freak offs? Cassie, yes, there were. Johnson, how, if at all, did your willingness to engage in freak offs with Sean change over time? Cassie, I mean, pretty quickly over time. I knew that it wasn't something that I wanted to be doing, especially as regularly as it became. But again, I was just in love and wanted to make him happy. All right. Johnson, well, despite not wanting to do freak offs, did you continue to engage in freak offs with Sean? Cassie, I did. Johnson, and why did you continue to engage in freak offs with Sean? Cassie, he would ask me. He would bring it up at random times, and I think to a point, I just didn't feel like I had much of a choice. I didn't really know what no would be or what no could turn into. Johnson, when you say you didn't know what no could turn into, what did you mean by that? Cassie, make him angry, very honestly, also making him uncomfortable. That I knew this thing and that I no longer wanted to do it. Can you repeat the question? Johnson, sure. You said that you didn't know what no could turn into, and you wanted to. I asked if you could explain what you meant by that phrase. Cassie, ultimately, at that point, Sean controlled a lot of my life, whether it was career, the way I dressed, like everything, everything. And I just didn't feel like I had much say in it at the time being. Like really super young, naive, total people pleaser. Yeah, I didn't know if he would be upset enough to be violent or if he would write me off and just not want to be with me at all. Johnson, what, if anything, were you afraid would happen if you said no to a freak off? Cassie, well, over time, it turned into the fact that there were actually blackmail materials to basically make me feel like if I didn't do it, that it would be hung over my head in that way, or that these things would become public. I experienced violence with him before. The abuse had started before that. So, obviously, in the back of my mind, Johnson, and Miss Ventura, when you said that the blackmail materials would be hung over your head, what, if anything, were you afraid Mr. Combs, Sean, would do with the blackmail materials? Cassie, release them, put them out on the internet. He had many resources to do that. So, Johnson, and you mentioned that at this point, violence had started. What, if anything, were you afraid would happen physically if you refused to do a freak off? Cassie, I mean, it was always in the back of my mind that I would somehow be hurt by him. But it's Sean is a really polarizing person. He's very charming. It's so hard to be able to decide in that moment, like what you need when he's telling you what he wants. I just didn't know. I just didn't know what would happen. Johnson, Miss Ventura, just to clarify one thing you said you called something blackmail material. What were you referring to? Cassie, referring to actual videos and photos of the actual encounters, the escorts. Johnson, to be clear, that's the freak offs you mentioned earlier? Cassie, yes. Johnson, okay. Who was depicted in those videos and photos with the escorts? Cassie, me. Sean is in some of the videos. Yeah. Johnson, okay, we're going to get back to this. But first, I would like to direct your attention to approximately December of 2023. What, if any, items did you provide to the government? Cassie, I gave them broken laptops, iPads, phones, things that no longer work, but I kept because I didn't know what was on them. Johnson. And what was the approximate time period that these broken electronic devices were from? Cassie. It was around the time period of the beginning in the relationship with Sean. Johnson. Your Honor, may I approach the witness? The court, you may. Johnson. Miss Ventura, I handed you what's been marked for identification as GXB. Do you recognize what I've handed you? Cassie, yes. Johnson, have you reviewed the contents of the drive? Cassie, I have. Johnson, at a high level, what is on the drive? Cassie, different communications and documents pertaining to this trial. Johnson, are those communications and documents from the electronic devices we just discussed? Cassie, yes. Johnson, did you also review photographs that are contained on the drive? Cassie, yes. Are those photographs also from the electronic devices we just discussed? Cassie, yes. Johnson, how do you know that the drive I just handed you is the drive that you reviewed before the trial? Cassie, because my initials are on there. Johnson, did you initial the drive after you reviewed it? Cassie, yes. So now Johnson brings in these exhibits, okay? So now she goes on and she questions Cassie. Miss Ventura, who is depicted in government exhibit B-105? Cassie, that's me and Carrie Morgan. Johnson, with respect to when you first met Sean, is this photograph taken before or after you first met Sean? Cassie, it might have been taken after, but really close to. Johnson, okay, approximately what year is this photo of you, if you recall? Well, this photograph, if you recall. Cassie, I feel like this photo was probably around 2004. Johnson, who is Carrie Morgan? Cassie, she was my best friend at the time. Johnson, at the time this photograph was taken, where were you living? Cassie, I was living in New York City. Johnson, and at the time this photograph was taken, what were you doing for work? Cassie, modeling. Okay, so Miss Gavin takes the picture down, which is the person who was in charge of putting the exhibits up and taking the exhibits down. Okay, so she takes the photo down and Johnson continues. Miss Ventura, besides modeling, what, if anything, were you doing in the music industry around this same time? Cassie, around this same time, I really wasn't doing too much with the music industry. I had recorded a few songs with the producer I was working with and in a relationship with. And yeah, it was really new for me at that point. Johnson, did there come a time when you released songs that you recorded? Cassie, yes. Did there also come a time when you signed a contract with Bad Boy Records? Cassie, yes. Johnson, approximately what month and year did you sign that contract? Cassie, I believe it was January or February of 2006. Johnson, what affiliation, if any, did Sean have with Bad Boy Records? Cassie, he ran the company. Johnson, before you met Sean, what did you know about him? Cassie, I just knew that he was this larger than life entrepreneur musician. I was a fan of the music. I didn't know too much about him personally. Johnson, and you mentioned that you signed that contract around the beginning of 2006. How old were you at the time? Cassie, at the time, I believe I was 19. Johnson, and at a high level, what were the terms of that recording contract you signed with Bad Boy? Cassie, it was a 10-album deal, so yeah. Johnson, did you release an album? Cassie, I did an album, yeah. Johnson, approximately when did you release an album? Cassie, later that year in 2006, August. Johnson, after August 2006, did you release any other albums? Cassie, no. Johnson, after you were signed to Bad Boy, can you please describe your professional relationship with Sean? Cassie, after I signed to Bad Boy, it was still a platonic relationship. He looked out for me. I had some rough performances, so he kind of had my back through that. Yeah. So now Johnson has Miss Gavin pull up another exhibit. Johnson, Miss Ventura, directing your attention first to B-102 on the left side. Who is depicted in that photograph? Cassie, that's me and Sean. Johnson, and what's the occasion for the photograph, if you remember? Cassie, I remember it being the CFDA Awards in New York. Johnson, and relative to your signing of the record contract, when is this photograph taken? Cassie, sometime later that year, I would say. Johnson, around 2006. Cassie, yes. Johnson, okay. Directing your attention now to the photograph on the right, Government Exhibit B-103. Who is depicted in that photograph? Cassie, from the left is Kim Porter, Sean, me, and Sherry Dennis. I'm about to sip my water on that. And y'all know why I'm sipping my water on that. Why my number so? Is it because I'm live on both channels, on both both ways that they got this? And I think we know the photograph that they're talking about. See, here's the thing. Some of these photographs that they used as exhibits, I've come across them online as I've been doing searches. And I remember seeing a photograph of Kim, Diddy, and Cassie together. And some of y'all probably came across that photo too and never even paid it no mind. So, but this is in 2006. So this is before they started dealing with each other. So now let's get back into it. All right. So it says, what's the occasion where this photograph was taken? Cassie, it's the 2006 BET Awards. Johnson, okay. Who is Kim Porter? Cassie, Kim Porter was Sean's ex from before me and the mother of his children. Sorry. Miss Johnson asked Miss Gavin to take the photograph down. Okay. So now Johnson says to Cassie, besides the photograph I just displayed, government exhibits B1-02 and B-103, when, if ever, did you see Sean in other social settings around 2006? Cassie, we used to kind of hang out with the same group of people in New York. So we would see each other out here and there at clubs. But that was pretty much it. And I'm saying all of these because she's saying all of these okay? She was hanging out with Kim and Diddy in the beginning of her career, yes. She signed with Diddy in 2006. She didn't start dealing with Diddy until 2008. So 2007, 2008. So this is in the beginning before these two even started sleeping with each other. But yeah, she was around. All right, so then Johnson says, how frequently would you see Sean out at clubs in New York? Cassie, maybe like once a month, once every couple months. Johnson, okay, directing your attention to your 21st birthday. Did you turn 21 in August of 2007? Cassie, yes. Johnson, where did you celebrate your 21st birthday? Cassie, in Las Vegas. So now Miss Johnson has Miss Gavin pull up government exhibit B-104. Johnson, Miss Ventura, what's depicted in government exhibit B-104? Cassie, that's me, and that is Kerry Morgan, Alizia Roshi, Sean, and myself. And we're on the outside patio in his room in Las Vegas on that trip. Johnson, when you say that trip, which trip to Las Vegas are you referring to? Cassie, 21st birthday at the VMAs. Johnson, when you say at the VMAs, can you explain what you mean of the VMAs? Cassie, that was the event that we were going to that weekend, the MTV Video Music Awards. Johnson, and what, if anything, happened between you and Sean while you were in Las Vegas for your 21st birthday? Cassie, a lot of different things happened, but he kissed me in the bathroom of in the bathroom of this actual suite pretty early in the morning. We had been up, all of us, pretty much late. Johnson, what was your reaction to Sean kissing you in the bathroom? Cassie, I think I was really confused at the time. Again, young, new artist, like just didn't really know the lay of the land when it comes to things like that. So in my confusion, just kind of cried and ran. Johnson, when you say you were a new artist, who did you not know? Who did not know the lay of the land? What do you mean by this, Cassie? I was just unfamiliar with having an executive or anybody pay attention to me in that way and be that forward at that point. I just didn't really understand it. I was pretty naive, I would say. Johnson, when you say that way, can you clarify what you mean by that way? Cassie, in a more than friends way, in an actual way, romantic way. Johnson, and at this time, at your 21st birthday, what was your professional relationship with Sean again? Cassie, I was signed to his label. Johnson, and what happened after Sean kissed you in the bathroom? Cassie, I just remember running out and headed back to my hotel. I think I told Carrie about it at the time, but I didn't really share it with anyone. Johnson, did you want to kiss Sean at your 21st birthday? Cassie, no, not at my 21st birthday. Johnson, after your 21st birthday in Vegas, how, if at all, was your relationship with Sean different? Cassie, when we got back to New York, I would just visit with him. He would invite me over to his hotel. I think his apartment at the time was getting renovated. So I went to see him a handful of times. Johnson, which hotel did you go to see him at? Cassie, the Trump Hotel in Columbus Circle is the one that I remember specifically. Lord, ham and mercy, not the Trump. The Trump Hotel. Trump is not going to bed. Trump don't want his business all up in the midst of all of this. Ooh, child. The people's who, which y'all, how y'all woo. I was told it's not for the ugly. It's not for the ugly. It's not judging. It's common sense. Let me see what you're saying over here. It's common sense. A simple Google search. Okay, right. Crazy how things is panning out. It's this like the Me Too movement. I don't know. She said Trump nasty too. What y'all saying over here? Oh, I see a lot of people been pew pew. Well, uniquely, you ain't gotta really get rid of too many people. Look at them numbers; they low right now. We need the interaction. We need the numbers to go up, baby. So the usual rules apply. If they being vulgar or being disrespectful, get them up out of here. If they trolling, just troll them back. I know that's why you over there because you like to troll back. Jada, you notice that? It's always Trump. It's always the Trump. It's the Trump. It's the Intercontinental. It's the Beverly Hills, Hilton, and the Limertage. Okay, those are the hotels that he likes. Well, if he didn't know then, he knows now, and I'm quite sure she didn't say anything then because she just said she she don't know the lay of the land. It's the man who got my damn contract in his hand. All right. Now let's continue. Johnson, at the same time after your 21st birthday, what, if anything, were you doing with your music career? Cassie, I was trying just to continue to go to the next album, continue recording, come up with a concept. Johnson, were you recording another album at the time? Cassie, yes. Johnson, what influence, if any, did Sean have on your music career at this time? Cassie, at this time, I mean, he called most of the shots. Well, all of the shots. If I had a new record, I would have to come play it for him. He chose what was next for me, basically. So here we have, and this is, I don't know if this is uncommon practices or not. I'm not going to say that it is uncommon practices, but it will be yeah, it's too late for David. He's cool. Yeah, he's cool. I'm cool off of that one. I don't know if this is uncommon practices for CEOs to be that involved with their artists or not. Again, I'm not a part of the music industry. I don't think that this part is too unusual in the beginning. But I would think that he would have some kind of say in what's going out because it is his brand. So I don't think right now at this stage where we are I don't think this is unusual. But I think she had a manager that was supposed to be, or somebody that was over her directly that was supposed to be overseeing this stuff, but I don't know. We still in the beginning, you guys. We haven't even rolled off. We are in 2007 now. She's been on Bad Boy for a year. She has released one album and she's working on the next, okay? Now, she just said that he called most of the shots. So now Johnson says, before we talk about the hotel, what is the age difference, if any, between you and Sean? Cassie, 17 years. So for those who thought I was grabbing 17 years out my booty hole, now y'all see I ain't just grabbed that out my booty hole. It's right there in the transcript. 17-year age difference, all right? Johnson, and when Sean invited you to the hotel after your 21st birthday, what was your reaction to that invitation? Cassie, I'm sorry. Can you ask the question again? Johnson, of course. You testified earlier that after your 21st birthday, Sean invited you to hang out with him at hotels in New York. Is that right? Cassie, yes. Johnson, how did you feel when Sean invited you to those hotels? Cassie, I mean, initially, a bit of nervousness, and then just being a young artist, like excitement, of course. Like, okay, we're going to go talk about music and we're going to talk about what's next. Yeah, I think it's a lot in that time period that's kind of hazy because it was a while ago, but just nervous and excitement. Johnson, at the meeting in the hotel rooms, what, if anything, did you two talk about? Music? Cassie, talked about upcoming projects or the actual next album and other things. We started to develop a more comfortable relationship with one another. I ain't even going to commentate. I'm just going to keep reading. Y'all take that how you want to. Johnson, and what else, if anything, happened at those meetings at the hotel? Cassie, I remember being introduced to the idea of oral X. It wasn't something that I really understood or did at that point, and he basically taught me how. Let me get my napkin because my eyes a little weak. Hey, okay. Listen, if y'all over here and y'all want to see the document for yourself, I'm live horizontally as well. Okay, sorry, I had gotten a phone call. Yes, he was 38, she was 21. And now we are at the point where he is introducing her to oral X. All right. And he taught her how to give oral X. What y'all talking about over here? I can't front. That was my slogan. Don't make me grab you by the... You know what, swagger low? She knew he was wrong coming at her like that. Listen. All right. When you say basically taught you how, who is the he in the sentence? Sean. That was Cassie saying Sean. Johnson, when you say you were introduced to oral X, who introduced you? Cassie, Sean. How did he introduce you to oral X? Cassie, he gave me oral X. I'm about to hit my vape. All right. Did you reciprocate the oral X? Cassie, I did not. I went home and I heard about it from him. So she went home and she heard about it from him. Johnson, when you say you heard about it from him, can you tell me more about that? Cassie, he just kind of made me feel crazy for not reciprocating. At that time, I just didn't understand that kind of sexual relationship. I also was still in a relationship with someone else. She was with Ryan Leslie at this time. Remember that, okay? Johnson, when you say you didn't understand that kind of actual relationship, can you tell me more about what you mean by that? Cassie, I was so young, I didn't have even the vocabulary for some of the things that we talked about. Like, I was just trying to understand it, just completely actually inexperienced at that point. Johnson, and around the same time, in addition to performing oral X on you, were there ever occasions where you performed oral X on Sean? Cassie, later on, yeah. Johnson, what was your reaction to the hotel room visits with Sean? Cassie, I think it was the nervous excitement that I say. It also just made me feel sneaky. I didn't know. I was curious, but of course ended up there and wanted to be like around him. So that was it was like, okay, I'm here. Leaving, it was just always confusing because I really didn't know what I felt. I felt like I don't know that I knew that I was making decisions for myself or not. I feel like it was just like, I'm here. I don't know how to explain it. So basically what she's saying is she don't know if she was actually coming up with these ideas herself or if it was kind of like being coached into it. Now, ladies, don't you get on here and get bougie and act like you don't know what it's like to have a ninja coach you into some stuff that you ain't have no intentions of doing. And you going home in the cab afterwards and you sitting back looking out the window as you riding back home, or you driving and you looking at them lines on the highway, driving back home like, I don't even understand how the hell we got there. It wasn't even supposed to be there. I didn't even have my good panties on. Don't act like y'all don't know what she talking about. Y'all know what she talking about. It's not funny, but it's funny because we know what she talking about. Okay? Like, damn, I knew I should have put them lacy black ones on. I don't need damn cotton bikinis. So she don't know if these was her ideas or not. But again, she 21. This is where the seriousness, this is where the 21 to 38, the age difference comes into play. But I mean, most men can do that. Even now, it don't matter how old you are. Ninja gonna get you if he gonna get you. Uniquely says she ain't doing this with me. Y'all doing this with me? Miss Pammy over here laughing. Okay, y'all know what I'm talking about. We not gonna get brand new. All right. So Miss Johnson says, you said you wanted to be around him. Why did you want to be around Sean? Cassie, I wanted to be around Sean for the same reasons as like everyone else at the time. It's just this exciting, entertaining, fun guy. I had also happened to have my career in his hand. But yeah, just wanted to spend time. It felt special because not a lot of people got that kind of time with him. Baby, he had his eyes locked and set. That's why. Anyway, Johnson, around the same time, did you also take a trip to meet Sean in Miami? Cassie, I did. Johnson, what were the circumstances of meeting Sean in Miami? Cassie, the circumstances were that I didn't have a party to host in Miami, but wanted to spend that weekend together. And so came up with a flyer that said I was hosting a party at a club in the beach area, Miami Beach area. Johnson, when you talk about hosting a party, can you explain to the jury what you mean by that? Cassie, yeah, as an artist, to make extra money, sometimes you are asked to host events at different clubs, sometimes to perform. And that would have fallen in line with me going to a club and making money for just showing up. Johnson, and you mentioned a flyer. Who made the flyer? Cassie, I don't know exactly who made the flyer, but somebody that we knew that could have created it. Johnson, did you make the flyer? Cassie, I did not make the flyer, no. Johnson, was the flyer advertising an actual club hosting for you? Cassie, no. Johnson, besides yourself and Sean, who else was in Miami with you? Cassie, I was there with Kerry Morgan and Dallas Austin later, met us down there. Johnson, who is Dallas Austin? Cassie, he's a producer, musician, a friend. Johnson, Kerry Morgan is the individual in the photograph we saw earlier. Cassie, yes. Johnson, what, if anything, did you and Sean do together on this trip? Cassie, together? This trip was the first time we had actual intercourse with each other. He rented a boat. I was the first to go there, to get there. So we just spent some time together and yeah. Johnson, and you had testified earlier that at some point after the hotel visit, you had given Sean oral X. Do you remember that? Cassie, Johnson, was that prior to Miami? Cassie, I don't think so. I think it happened there. I'm pretty sure everything kind of happened that weekend. Johnson, prior to having X on the boat, what were you doing on the boat? Cassie, just riding on the boat. Johnson, what, if any, alcohol were you drinking? Cassie, drinking wine during the day and then later that night started to take rugs. Johnson, what rugs did you take? Cassie, on that trip, it was ecstasy. It was a blue dolphin ecstasy pill. Johnson, can you explain what you mean by a blue dolphin ecstasy pill? Cassie, ecstasy used to, I don't know how it is now, but came as a pressed pill with a little symbol on it. So these had blue dolphins. Johnson, who gave you the ecstasy that you took on the boat in Miami? Cassie, Sean did. Johnson, prior to this Miami trip, had you taken ecstasy before? Cassie, no. Johnson, had you ever taken ecstasy unintentionally before? Cassie, yes. Johnson, what happened that time? Cassie, I was just out of it with friends laughing, didn't know what it was until a little bit later. Johnson, and when you say you had unintentionally taken ecstasy, how did you unintentionally take it? Cassie, I took it out of someone's Gatorade bottle, just drinking Gatorade, but it had drugs in it, but didn't know. Johnson, this was before Miami. Cassie, this was before Miami, yeah. Johnson, prior to hanging out with Sean, what, if any, drugs did you use? Cassie, I smoked marijuana, I drank wine, and yeah. So, prior to linking with Diddy, Cassie has said that she unintentionally, that there was ecstasy in a Gatorade bottle, hanging out with her friends, drank it, didn't know that it was in there. But she admits to smoking marijuana. But there is no heavy rug use at this point that has been introduced during this testimony. Okay. And this is why I'm going through the transcripts so that we get clarity in some things. All right. Johnson, on this trip, this Miami trip, when you took ecstasy intentionally for the first time, how did it make you feel? Cassie, it's totally euphoric. It's an experience of something called rolling, where you're just really in a high. So you're super high. You're sensitive to touch. You're just sensitive to all your different senses. Cassie on a boat with Diddy and they rolling, not just on the river, y'all. So now Miss Johnson has Miss Gavin pull up the government exhibits, right? So now Johnson says, Miss Ventura, starting with the photograph on the left, B1-07, do you recognize who's depicted in this photo? Cassie, yes, that's me and Sean on the boat in Miami. Johnson, and is this the boat you just described being on? Cassie, yes. Johnson, and turning to the next photograph, B-108, do you recognize who's depicted in that exhibit? Cassie, yes, that's Sean and me sitting down, same boat. So they take the exhibits down and Johnson continues. After the Miami trip, what was the status of your relationship with Sean? Cassie, I would say we were just together. We spent a lot of time with each other after that. Now, I know in hindsight, but I had become like one of his girlfriends after that trip. Johnson, when you say you know in hindsight, what do you mean in hindsight? Cassie, that Sean Combs had many girlfriends. Johnson, at that time, what did you know? Cassie, at the time I didn't know. I was, can't say naive enough. I knew that we were spending a lot of time together, one on one, and really felt, yeah, like we were in a monogamous relationship for a period. Johnson, after the Miami trip, was it public that you were dating Sean? Cassie, no, not for many years after that. Johnson, why was it not public for many years? Cassie, it was just always a discussion of me being his artist and just not wanting it to look bad. But I also know it was because of his family and his children and other things, personal things for him. Johnson, what are those other personal things if you know? Cassie, his family. Yeah, just it was always something I understood. Johnson, around that time, who, if anyone, was publicly linked to Sean romantically? Cassie, around this time, I believe it was Kim, but I think she had also just moved away around that time. Johnson, when you say Kim, are you referring to Kim Porter? Cassie, yes. Johnson, after you started dating Sean, what changes, if any, did you eventually make in your career management? Cassie, well, my management at the time was also managing the other producer slash boyfriend that I was with, and just looked at that as a major conflict of interest at that point. And yeah, I basically just trusted that we were going to find new people. Johnson, and when you say you trusted that we were going to find new people, who is the we in that sentence? Cassie, Sean, and I. Johnson, to be clear, did you break ties with your old management after you started dating Sean? Cassie, I did. Yeah. Johnson, after Miami, how did your relationship with Sean evolve? Cassie, after Miami, we really just, I mean, at least from my own side of things, I really fell in love with him. I traveled with him everywhere. I was in the studio. I was just like a little shadow for a little while. Johnson, you were a shadow to whom? Cassie, to Sean. Johnson, how did Sean treat you at this time? Cassie, we had fun. It was just kind of like it's my first real adult relationship, at least what I thought it was. And it was different, so different than anything as you can imagine. His lifestyle was much different than mine. Johnson, how long did you feel this way about your relationship that you described being this strike that? You said that Sean's lifestyle was different. Can you explain what you mean by that? Cassie, I mean, he had assistants at his beck and call. He'd get anything done quickly. He had respect from everyone. He traveled quite a bit. So he was, yeah, moving around a lot. Johnson has Miss Gavin pull up another exhibit and continues. Miss Ventura, do you recognize who's depicted in government exhibit B-112? Cassie, yeah, that's me and Sean. Johnson, what's the occasion when this photograph was taken, if you remember? Cassie, this was at a strip club in New York. I'm not sure which one, but it was Halloween. Johnson, and what year? I would say this was probably 2007 or 8, 7. Johnson, and Halloween 2007. Is that shortly after the Miami trip? Cassie, yeah, yes. So Johnson has them pull down the exhibits and she pulls up new ones and continues. Johnson, Miss Ventura, starting with photograph on the left, B-106. Who's depicted in B-106? Cassie, that's Sean and myself. Johnson, and where are you? Cassie, we're in the back of his car, probably driving to the Hamptons or something. Johnson, approximately what time period is this photograph from? Cassie, this is in the first year of us dating, like within that first few months. Johnson, and turning to the photograph on the right, B-109, again, who's depicted in that photograph? Cassie, Sean and myself in the back of the car. Johnson, is that the same car? Cassie, yes. Johnson, and what's the approximate time period that this photograph was taken? Cassie, it was around the same time. Johnson, in the beginning of the relationship? Cassie, yeah. Johnson, Miss Ventura, how did you feel about Sean around this time in the beginning of your relationship? Cassie, I think I was just enamored by him. We were just having a good time. It was really fun at this point. Johnson, how long did you feel that way about Sean? Cassie, I don't know exactly how long. It was off and on for many years. Yeah. Johnson, how, if at all, did your relationship change over time? Cassie, I mean, over time, you get more comfortable with somebody, obviously, but I began to just experience a different side of him, which was his abusive side and his side that just was very controlling over my life and the things that I wanted to do, but there was still love there. So now they take the exhibits down, and Miss Johnson continues. Miss Ventura, you mentioned a side of Sean that wanted to control over your life. Can you explain to me what you mean by that? Cassie, being an artist at the time, everything moved really quickly for me, and I don't know, there was just no way of keeping up with what was happening. And I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? Johnson, sure. You had mentioned that one thing that changed about your relationship over time with Sean wanting to have control over your life. I just wanted to ask you what that meant when you said control over your life. Cassie, control was everything from the way that I looked to what I was working on that day, who I was speaking to. Control was kind of like an all around thing to a certain point. Johnson, how often did you talk to Sean in a typical day while you were dating? Cassie, all day throughout the day. Johnson, how did you two communicate? Cassie, text, mostly calls. Johnson, what about phone calls? Cassie, phone calls for sure. Johnson, and when it became a thing, did you FaceTime? Cassie, yes. Johnson, were there times when you did not answer Sean's messages or phone calls right away? Cassie, yeah. Johnson, what happened when you didn't answer his messages or phone calls right away? Cassie, he's a bit of an insentient caller, or have staff, his assistants, security, somebody continue to call until you answer or until he found you. And when you say insentient caller, what do you mean by that? Cassie, if there's no answer, you just keep going. Johnson, would he do the same thing with text messages? Cassie, yes, that's just his nature. Johnson, you mentioned the assistants and security would reach out until they found you. Cassie, correct. Johnson, what did you mean by until they found you? Cassie, until they heard from you and knew where you were and could tell him. Johnson, were there times when Sean's staff located you in person? Cassie, yes. Johnson, how, if at all, did Sean's mood vary from day to day? Cassie, it varied depending upon what was going on. Johnson, how did his mood vary? Cassie, I mean, it could change at the drop of a conversation. A bad conversation that I had nothing to do with. It just swung different ways. Johnson, I didn't catch that last part that you said. Could you repeat that? Cassie, I said it swung different ways quite a bit. Johnson, when it swung, could you describe the different moods that you experienced? Cassie, yeah, I mean, agitation, kind of zoning out if he was passionate about a subject. He would just be really focused. Yeah, anger. Johnson, how, if at all, did Sean's mood impact you? Cassie, I felt like they impacted me pretty greatly. I got to a point where this is me speaking for myself, but like, how to handle certain people, when to speak to them, when to approach them. Like, that's it. It's timing or what you say, how you present something, just in order to make sure that person doesn't become upset with you or, yeah, change their demeanor with you. I'm gonna keep reading. Johnson, do you have an example of how Sean's moods impacted you? Cassie, I mean, the greatest, the most complicated and greatest examples are the abuse. Because, like, I also felt at certain times when I knew that it wasn't even about me, and yeah, like, make the wrong face, and the next thing I knew, I was getting hit in the face. It was, Johnson, when you say the abuse, what abuse are you talking about? Cassie, physical abuse in a relationship. There's also psychological. There's a lot of things going on. Johnson, you said something about the wrong face. Can you explain what you mean by that? Cassie, if I wasn't smiling at him the way he wanted, if I just looked a certain way that he didn't like, maybe I was a brat or something, like he would let me know I need to fix my face or watch my mouth. That was like those were things that were said in the relationship quite often. Fix your face, watch your mouth, or you have a slick mouth. Johnson, you also mentioned psychological abuse. Can you describe what you mean by psychological abuse? Cassie, that's pretty deep. I mean, psychological is just every day, not knowing who he was going to be when he woke up that day. The entire relationship, I didn't live with him. So we had time apart, and usually it was just like I always had to be doing something. I don't know if that makes sense. I had what you call like busy work. I needed to make sure I knew what song I was recording, what things were coming up, and then have to like list them out, or wasn't or I wasn't amounting to anything in my life. So it was a lot. I mean, psychological is an everyday thing. Somebody constantly telling you who to be. Johnson, when you say someone constantly telling you who to be, who are you referring to? Anyone in particular? Cassie, I'm referring to Sean. Johnson, you mentioned you always had to be doing something. Cassie, yeah. Johnson, who, if anyone, would check in on you about what you were doing? Cassie, he would. He would check in. He would check in. But I also worked with his engineers and all his people. So everybody was pretty much in tune with everything I was doing. Johnson, when you say his engineers and his people, are you talking about people you worked with in the studio? Cassie, studio staff. Yep. Johnson, you also mentioned making lists of songs. Do you recall that? Cassie, yes. Johnson, who, if anyone, would you give these lists to? Cassie, I would give it to him, like an engineer or the writer, but I would have a list. He knew what I was doing at the studio. Sean. Johnson, what was the purpose of giving those lists to Sean? Cassie, that I was completing what I was supposed to be doing, that songs were getting done, and yeah, it's my busy work. Johnson, when you say busy work, can you describe what you mean by busy work? Cassie, work that just kept me busy mainly because a lot of the things didn't actually come out, be it music or whatever. I think busy work was just a way I interpreted it. I was just It was just control. It was just control over what I was doing every minute of the day. Johnson, you said some things didn't come out, whether it was music or whatever. Can you tell me what whatever might be? Cassie, music wouldn't come out, but I also would get a lot of opportunities that would come through that I was told not to participate in, be it modeling, campaign, which was something that I actually did before music, or a runway show. There are things that I just had to say no to. Johnson, and who told you not to participate in those opportunities? Cassie, Sean advised. Johnson, we'll get back to that in a few minutes. Were there times in your relationship when you ignored Sean? Cassie, yes. Johnson, what happened in your relationship when you ignored Sean? Cassie, I mean, if I ignored him, he would call constantly, which I said, oh, I'm sorry, which I said, I usually didn't live too far, so it was easy to send someone to just come see if I was home. But it was differently a not it but it was definitely a not stop until you find me thing. Johnson. And you mentioned sending someone to see if you were home. Who typically would be sent on that task? Cassie. Usually security would be sent on that task, but maybe like a trusted assistant or something. Johnson. And can you describe for the jury who Sean's security would be? Cassie. Like specifically? Johnson. Just what their roles were. Cassie. I mean, security protected him, kept an eye on me. Johnson, how often was security? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Cassie, it's okay. I was trying to understand your question more, I think. Johnson, understood. How often was security around Sean? Cassie, oh, all the time, 24/7. Johnson, when you say trusted assistant, whose assistant are you referring to? Cassie, Sean's assistant. Johnson, what are some of the names of the security who worked for Sean during the time you two were dating? Cassie, there was D Rock, Bonds, Uncle Paulie, Fahim, and Malik. Okay, pause, pause, because Fahim is another one that we need to hear from. I completely forgot Fahim was around when Cassie was around, and Fahim was around when Jane was around. So, in all actuality, KK and Fahim are the longest running employees of Diddy's. Let's continue. Just a lot of people, but those are the main ones I can remember. Johnson, when you mentioned trusted assistants, who were some of the trusted assistants? Cassie, I mean, in the very beginning, it was David James. It just kind of changed over time. Christina Karam eventually, Neil Dominic. He had a lot of different assistants. Johnson, and we'll get back to some of those folks. When you said security kept an eye on you, what did you mean by that? Cassie, I mean, they could easily just come over and see if I was home or not. It wasn't really a secret. Yeah. Does that make sense? Johnson, was your relationship with Sean always exclusive? Cassie, no. Johnson, were there times where you saw other men? Cassie, yes. Johnson, were there times where he saw other women? Cassie, yes. Johnson, how did you feel about Sean seeing other women? Cassie, I was insanely jealous, but also super young. Didn't get it at all. But I was definitely, yeah, young and jealous. Johnson, when you say you didn't get it, what didn't you get? Cassie, I didn't get that he was him. As he would say, I'm Puff Daddy. And Puff Daddy has many women where, he likes the company of women. And yeah, I had to just really learn that over time, despite what he would tell me, just between us. Johnson, when you say despite what he would tell you, what do you mean? Cassie, he made me feel like we were in a monogamous relationship more often than not. It was more figuring out that I wasn't in a monogamous relationship. Johnson, how did he make you feel like you were in a monogamous relationship? Cassie, I mean, he expected that of me. So I assumed that it was the same. But he definitely would say, like, I'm not dealing with anyone else or it's just us. Johnson, and when he would say, I'm not dealing with anyone else, was it true? Cassie, it could have been sometimes, and then other times, no. Johnson, in what city did you live when you first started dating Sean? Cassie, I lived in New York. Johnson, and after you started dating Sean, in what part of the city did you eventually move to? Cassie, I eventually lived on West End around 60th and West End. Johnson, what were the circumstances of you moving to 60th and West End? Cassie, it was a gift, actually, for my birthday. And I remember on my birthday, Sean taking me and my parents up there to show them. It really It wasn't far from his house, like all of the other houses. Johnson, where did Sean live in relation to the West End apartment? Cassie, he was around. He was like 56th and Broadway at the time, so not far. Johnson, who paid rent for the apartment on West End? Cassie, Sean did. Johnson, besides New York, where else and what other cities did you live while you were dating Sean? Cassie, Los Angeles. I I occasionally were in I guess you meant was. I occasionally was in Miami, but I really didn't live there. Los Angeles and New York. Johnson, did you eventually move full time from New York to Los Angeles? Cassie, yeah. Johnson, and what led to your move to LA? Cassie, after spending quite a bit of one on one time, I knew he really wanted to be closer to his kids. So that was ultimately the move he wanted to make, was to be closer to them in LA. Although I wasn't ready to move out of New York, I followed him. I went. Johnson, so why did you move? Cassie, I moved because I was in love and I wanted to be near him. Johnson, and when you said Sean wanted to be closer to his kids, where did his kids live at the time? Cassie, his kids lived in California, or some of them. Yeah. So now Miss Gavin had Miss Johnson has Gavin pull up an exhibit and continues. Miss Ventura, do you recognize what's depicted in 2B-101 and 2B-102? Cassie, yes. This is one of the houses that Sean rented while in LA. Johnson, how do you recognize this house? Cassie, I spent a lot of time there. I had my 26th birthday there. Johnson, are these fair and accurate photos of one of the houses Sean rented in LA? Cassie, yeah. And then, of course, it's the exhibits. They're switching them out. Johnson, Miss Ventura, directing your attention to the photograph on the left, 2B-101. Which side of the house is depicted, the front or the back? Cassie, this is the back side of the house. Johnson, with respect to the 3 floors that you can see, on which floor is the front entrance of the house? Cassie, the front entrance is at the very top. There's like a clear glass. It's not lit up from the inside. Johnson, and what floor is Sean's bedroom on in this particular house? Cassie, it's on the same floor. So the rounder part in the middle is the bathroom, and then all the way to the left is the bedroom. Johnson, and that's the top floor you're referencing. Cassie, yes. Miss Ventura, between you moving to LA and when you ended your relationship with Sean, approximately how many residences in LA did you live? Cassie, let me see. About 4, I believe. Johnson, where did you live when you first moved to LA? Cassie, when I first moved to LA, I moved to a building on Doney, 818 Doney. Johnson, where did you live after 818 Doney? Cassie, after that, I went to get my own house. So I got a house in Studio City. From there, moved back over the hill, and I was on, what is that? Wilshire Corridor. And then from there, moved to West Hollywood. Johnson, in Wilshire Corridor, what address did you live at? Cassie, it was 875 Comstock Avenue. Switching of exhibits. Johnson, Miss Ventura, do you recognize what's depicted in Government Exhibit 2B-107 and 2B, I can't see the exhibit number, 2B-107? What's depicted in that exhibit? Cassie, that's the back of, was my entrance side where my apartment was at 875 Comstock, was the entryway. Johnson, and another exhibit, 2B-09. What's depicted in that exhibit? Cassie, that's the Wilshire Corridor side, the opposite side. Johnson, how do you recognize this building? Cassie, I lived there. Johnson, is this a fair and accurate photograph of 875 Comstock? Cassie, yeah. Johnson, Miss Ventura, focusing on 2B-017. Which side of the building does this depict again? Cassie, that's the back. but the front entrance. Johnson, the front entrance is on the side of the building. Cassie, yeah, it's like a little roundabout. Johnson, which side of the building did you live on? Cassie, I lived on this side. Johnson, the front side that you see in 2B-107? Cassie, yes. What floor did you live on? Cassie, I was on 17. Johnson, and approximately how many floors was 875 Comstock? Cassie, I don't think it was much more than 17. Johnson, where did Sean live in relation to 875 Comstock? Cassie, right down the block on South Mapleton. It's probably a few minutes drive or walk away. Johnson, what was his address on South Mapleton? Cassie, I believe it was 200 South Mapleton Drive. Johnson, Miss Ventura, do you recognize what's depicted in Government Exhibit 2C-103? Cassie, yes. Johnson, what is it? Cassie, it's the distance between my apartment and Sean's house. Johnson, and your apartment at 875 Comstock. Cassie, yep. Johnson, is this a true and accurate map of the distance between 875 Comstock and 200 South Mapleton? Cassie, it is. Johnson, Miss Ventura, how did you get between your apartment and 875 Comstock at 875 Comstock and Sean's house at 200 South Mapleton? Cassie, I would drive, sometimes walk. Sean also had a golf cart that he would take. Johnson, approximately how long of a drive was it? Cassie, a few minutes, 3 minutes. It is what it is. It says here. Johnson, is the 3 minutes on the map accurate? Cassie, yes. Johnson, what was the street you lived on in West Hollywood? Cassie, that street was called Harold Way. Johnson, was this the residence you were living at when you ended your relationship with Sean? Cassie, yes. Johnson, who generally paid the rent for your LA apartments and house? Cassie, generally Sean did, except for one house. Johnson, when you say except for one house, who paid the rent for that house? Cassie, the house in Studio City, I paid for. Johnson, and why did you pay for the rent in Studio City? Cassie says, this is at a time where I could afford it and I had just wanted that freedom for myself and to be able to have my own place. Johnson, why did you want that freedom at that time? Cassie, because I wasn't getting it a lot of other ways and there was no fight. So I did. Johnson, when you say there was no fight, what do you mean by that? Cassie, there was no argument for me getting my own place. Not that I remember. Yeah, it was accepted. Johnson, when you say it was accepted, who accepted it? Cassie, Sean. Johnson, and what, if anything, happened around the time you moved from the residence at 875 Comstock? Cassie, I'm sorry, when I moved? Johnson, I'm sorry, Miss Ventura, let me ask a different question. For the residence where Sean paid the rent, what access, if any, did Sean have to those apartments? Cassie, he had access. He had his own keys. Johnson, when, if ever, did he use those keys? Cassie, whenever he wanted. Johnson, did he ever come by unannounced? Cassie, yeah. Johnson, how frequently? Cassie, I mean, frequent enough, but not too much. A lot. Johnson, I think you answered a number of different ways there. Cassie, yes. Johnson, I'll give you a chance to. Cassie, yeah, 875 Comstock was the closest, and I would say there were a lot of unannounced visits there. Johnson, so did it vary by location how frequently there were unannounced visits? Cassie, I think so. Yeah. Johnson, how did you feel when Sean stopped by your apartment unannounced? Cassie, I mean, depending on his mood and if he was yelling or banging on the door or if he was just coming in smooth and being nice, it just varied. Usually, if it was to check in and see what was going on without us knowing or by us, I mean, me and my friends, it was just a little bit of a stomach in knots moment. Johnson, when you say stomach and knots moment, what do you mean by that? Cassie, I didn't know what was going to come of the visit or why Sean might have been angry to start. So, yeah. Johnson, what were you concerned what happened? And then there was an objection. And so Johnson said she was going to move on. Okay. Johnson, Miss Ventura, you were asked some questions. You talked about your music earlier. You had a recording. Cassie, yes. Johnson, approximately how many songs did you record during your relationship with Sean? Cassie, hundreds of songs. Johnson, what happened to the songs that you recorded? Cassie, some of them got released, some of them got leaked on the internet prior to, like, a proper release, and some just didn't see the light of day. Johnson, besides the songs that were released, did you release any additional albums when you dated Sean? Cassie, no, I put out a mixtape. Johnson, what's a mixtape? Cassie, it was a free album, like for fans that had been waiting for so long for music. Johnson, approximately what year did you put out that mixtape? Cassie, I believe it was 2011, 2012. I'm not 100% sure. Johnson, how many albums on your record deal were not released? Cassie, 9. Johnson, and what, if any, compensation did you receive if albums were not released? Cassie, you don't. You barely receive it when they are released. Johnson, what, if any, impact did not releasing albums have on you financially? Cassie, I mean, it was not released. Can you repeat that again? I'm sorry. Johnson, sure. What, if any, impact did not releasing albums have on you financially? Cassie, I mean, financially, I didn't make anything off of them. But I think it was just more of a, you're not releasing music. You're not doing your job. So the career was kind of stifled. Johnson, why did you not release any album during this time? Cassie, you're asking me? Johnson, well, put it another way. What were you doing instead of when you were working on your music? What were you doing? Cassie, when I wasn't working on my music, I was recovering from partying. That was a big, that took a big chunk out of my life. I just plainly, the freak offs became a job where there was no space to do anything else but to recover and just try to feel normal again. Johnson, when you say partying, what do you mean by partying? Cassie, staying up for days on end, taking drugs and other different substances, drinking, having sex with strangers over days. Johnson, does partying include what you described earlier as freak offs? Cassie, yeah. Johnson, before we move on, who ultimately decided whether you could release another album? Cassie, Sean did. Johnson, how much time off of your week? How much time out of your week did freak offs take? Cassie, it would depend on how long they were. They ranged anywhere from 36 to 48 to 72 hours. I feel like the longest one ever was 4 days, maybe even more, like on and off with breaks. So it was a significant part of the week. Johnson, and you also testified just a moment ago about recovering. What, if anything, were you recovering from after a freak off? Cassie, recovering from drugs, dehydration, and just staying awake all the time. Okay. Now they said they were coming to a good place to land the plane for the mid-afternoon break. And that's where they took their first break at. So we're going to take our first break from that here. Now, in this portion of the transcript, we have been introduced to a lot of different things, okay? We've been introduced to what it was like for her on a day to day. Oh, you thought you was going to come over here and be safe? You're not. Bye bye. See you later, Killer Rob. You thought you was going to come over here and be safe. No, you're not. Uniquely, if you're still over here, if Killer Rob comes over there, instantly time out. Time out till tomorrow, 24 hours. So you're already hearing a lot that has happened, and it's a lot to dissect, okay? She talked about the psychological aspect of things. She talked about her music contract. She talked about how he was in control, how he gained control. Henny putting hits. Yes, I am. Because I just removed him from over here. He's been timed out too many times. Okay, so I tell you what, he could be helloed from the other side because he's disrespectful. There's a difference between having an opinion, like Angela. Angela has an opinion, and her and I have healthy debates. We do not curse each other out. We do not get disrespectful. As there are other people who I have healthy debates with, you see that nobody snipes them out until it gets disrespectful or it becomes obsessive. Rob comes in here straight out disrespectful every time, and that's not going to be tolerated in here. I don't care what we're talking about. Disrespect will not be tolerated in either of these chats. I just timed him out. He said, "Welcome to the shadow realm." Uniquely over there getting them, okay? Over here, we don't really need too much, okay? We cooling over here. This man is a true predator, always needs to be in control. Control seems to be a very big issue. Now, what I did want to do today, but I feel like it was a lot because this was a lot to already process. We are like almost at an hour and a half in. I didn't expect either of these videos to get a lot of views because at the end of the day, there's been coverage of these transcripts already that have gone mega super ultra viral. So I really didn't expect much to come of these. If somebody is watching this on the replay, then thank you for all of y'all that have tapped in. Even the vertical live did not do so well view wise, and that's cool. But I wanted to give you guys the documents so that you guys could have it. But we're gonna pause here where they left off for lunch, and then we'll pick it up again. I promise you guys, I'm gonna start reading. I don't know how she meant that, but she ended up getting timed out. I thought about it after the fact. Oh well, my bad. Anyway, she'll be back tomorrow. I do want to start reading pieces of the transcript to you guys. I may just do this in a different version and add a something new to the channel. Don't hold me to it. But if you are over here and you are on the horizontal live, I want to say thank you for tapping in. If you are vertical, stay live, stay over here because I'm going to continue. You guys move over to the vertical live because we are going to have a discussion now. This horizontal was for documentation purposes only so that you guys could see it on the screen. I am going to now have the discussion on the vertical live. So please join us over there. Thank you guys for tapping in and tuning in. And I will see you guys in the next video. And yes, it will be just the horizontal one, y'all.